Okay, so welcome to my tutorial. This is the first one I've tried to make yet, so we'll see how this goes. We're going to be doing Bryce 7 boolean graphics or boolean geography graphics. Now, to get started, I'd like to start out with document setup, setting it to max recommended resolution. This just makes it easier to see, to navigate around the workspace, etc. We can always turn that down later for rendering, for final, whatever purpose that we need to at the end. In the meantime, I like to keep it at full. Also notice that I've got the default plane object selected because I'm going to delete it. This is not going to be used for this simple model that we're going to be building, which is going to be a shot glass. Shot glass just simply because I needed one in my bar model, and it's a good way to start out with in an introduction to using booleans. I'm assuming that anybody watching this already has a basic familiarity with Bryce, but I'm going to keep it pretty simple, straightforward, so that even if you don't, you probably can follow along, hopefully. At the end, if there's any questions, please direct contact me and let me know. I'll be glad to answer any questions. Okay, so after we've done that deletion there, well, actually we haven't here, but it'll be deleted in a second. We call up on the create menu, or the create workspace, I should say, right next to the word create at the very top, you'll notice at top left, there's a little triangle next to the word create. That brings up your objects palette right here. The object we're going to select is going to be the funnel cylinder tapered 20%. Now, underneath that listing there, you'll notice, or on the side there, you'll notice that there's also one called booleans, where we were in additional primitive. Booleans is a good thing to look at to get an idea of what booleans can do, what they're used for. But again, we're going to be using just additional primitives and this particular funnel cylinder tapered 20%. You have to scroll down to the bottom to get to it, and then click the check arrow or OK. Now, you'll notice that once I brought this, that I've clicked on that object, what I've done is I've brought it over in Bryce here. I've clicked over to the Edit workspace and rotated the thing 180 degrees so that it's pointed downward or upward, depending on how you're looking at it, of course. The way to do that is by rotating it with the rotation gadget. You can see up there at the top that I'm pointing at, and also holding down the shift button will lock it into every 45 degrees. So holding shift, rotate it around until it looks like so. Then we go to the resize gadget, one gadget over, and dragging just from the bottom, as you can see, or the lower part of the y-axis, we drag the bottom down until we get our glasses roughly like this is what I want. Then we're going to go to the little A button next to the, which is the listing next to the object itself on the screen. The little gadget is called the Object Attributes window, or palette, I believe. And I'm going to select positive. This is the first step in our Boolean process, making this one a positive instead of a neutral, which means it can interact with other things. Then hit OK. And then I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste it, which means Control-C and Control-V. It pastes them right in place. And you notice here I've also immediately resized it using the resize gadget up there at the top, and brought it in just slightly in a little bit from both sides. Then we want to take and slide it upward slightly so that the top of the inner sleeve of the glass is higher than the outer sleeve, because what's going to happen otherwise is we're going to have an empty space in the middle of the glass but no way to access it. So in this case, I switched over. You'll notice, like right over here on the top left corner, below the thumbnail, the preview thumbnail, you'll notice I switched over to the side camera view so that I can line this up and actually make sure that I've got clearance on the object above the edge of the outer object. You'll see that I'm using the upward reposition gadget. And to make this move slowly enough to where you can actually like place it exactly where you want, it's best to hold down the Alt button while moving these things around. It'll slow it down and keep it going down by pixel instead of huge chunks of space at a time. Once that's done, then I'm coming down to the bottom and I'm going to resize upward so that till it looks like this, which is just arbitrarily what I want it to be. I'm looking at the glass thickness on the sides here, which might be a little thin, but it's fine for now. And then after we resize that, then we're going to go in and decide the properties for that one, the object attributes for that, again by the little A gadget there next to the object. And we're going to select negative. Negative, of course, is going to be now applied to the positive, which means it's going to take a bite, that exact shape out of the positive object. So we hit OK. And then then we want to draw a box around both objects, thereby selecting both of them. And we're going to hit group. Make sure you don't get the perspective of the camera selected, and at the same time it can cause confusion later. But anyway, which we hit, so group is just the G. It's also Control G on the keyboard, but just use the little G gadget here for now. And that creates the group, which makes the positive and negative Boolean objects interact and become the final object that they create together. Which, as you can see from here, which has done a quick render back in the director's chair view, now we can see that there is the object with the byte taken out of the center. Next step will be to change the materials. Clicking on the M button next to the object brings up our materials lab. Now, if you go to the material library, which is accessed by the next to the thumbnail, the little triangle there to the right, we get to the materials library, which down the lower left corner, you can see it's set to glass here, but it started out at architectural default. So I clicked on that little arrow next to that, got down to glass, and then we're selecting the glass, heavy, or whatever material you want to use. All that. You probably used all that already. Back here to there, we can see what we've got, and then we can say, OK. Now, here we are. Final render.